ProWrestlingSheet.com.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to ProWrestlingSheet.com. My name is Quarrinton, and today I'm joined by the wonderfully talented Heather Monroe. Heather, how are you?
Hello, I am good. How about yourself?
We go. Good, we got it right that time.
Yes, we recorded and everything.
Yeah, pull the curtain back a little bit. That was not our first take. So yeah, before we crack on, I do want to ask something. Do people call you Hev?
No.
Sure.
Well, okay, actually, I've never had a nickname in my entire life, except for my sister, who does call me Hev or Heavy, and that's about it.
That's so funny. So one of my closest friends back home, her name is Heather, and everyone calls her Hev, H-E-V, just Hev. So I was wondering if anyone called you that too, but I guess not. Apart from your sister.
No, not really. Just my sister. That's about it. Or Heater. They call me Heater. That's because no H, but that's about it. It's my name without an H.
Heater. Okay, I got it. Okay, so let's talk about. I guess we should talk about wrestling. Maybe. Yeah. I want to know if you can remember the very first time that you saw professional wrestling, that you saw wrestling on TV or anything like that.
So the very first time I think I ever saw it was definitely Hulk Hogan in the very early 90s when I was like really, really young. But I would say that's the first time I remember seeing it. Otherwise, it was definitely when I was older and I watched Tough Enough. The very first season of Tough Enough was like the first wrestling I saw and was like, I knew that it was wrestling.
Ah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I get curious sometimes how many people there are who like the reality shows, so like Total Divas and Tough Enough and stuff like that, if that's like the gateway to wrestling for them. Because totally. I actually have a couple of friends who got into wrestling through Total Divas, which I think is really cool and justifies, I mean, I love reality TV anyway, yeah. But
Total Divas is the reason I started to actually wrestle. So okay. I would say there's both those reality shows, because Tough Enough I originally was watching because it was on MTV, and then Heat would come on right after it. So I was watching to watch Tough Enough, but then Heat would be on after, and I'd be like, oh wait, what's this? And then I started watching Total Divas when I was 24 or so, and then I was like, wait, I remember how much I love this. I'm gonna maybe check more into it. So I would say it's especially Total Divas has brought a huge new audience to wrestling,
which is good. I think it's. You get a lot of sort of snarky, typically male wrestling fans who like to shit on that kind of thing, but it's bringing in a new audience. Yeah. And like I said, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I did used to watch it fairly regularly because I unashamedly love reality television.
Me too. It's my favorite.
Do you like Bravo shows?
So I was never big. I did watch the very, very, very first Housewives, but I was never big on like that. I love like competition reality shows, like The Challenge and Top Chef. I do like Total Divas I love, but like the Housewives ones I'm not like huge into, but I love The Bachelor and like that kind of stuff too.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I watch my wife and I religiously watch Real Housewives shows and Vanderpump Rules and that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So when you were watching Tough Enough and Heat, do you remember who like your favorites were back then? Like anybody who's like any wrestlers who stuck out to you that you consider influential now?
Oh yeah, the Hardy Boys and Lita, like they had a lot of women's matches on Heat too, which I think helped. So they had like a lot of Lita, a lot of Molly Holly, a lot of Jazz and Ivory at the time. So I saw a lot of that, and like a lot of the cruiserweights and stuff too. It was like, it was kind of their B show, where they actually kind of got to go out and do stuff. I feel like that was like a little less micromanaged. So that's how I got into watching wrestling.
Yeah, I feel like Dean Malenko was on there a lot. People like that. Well, yeah.
And it was a lot of like the women's storylines happened there, I feel like.
Yeah, I do remember. So it was weird because back in the UK, I feel like I can't remember. I feel like it wasn't properly on, or if it was on at some stupid time.
But it was like Sundays at 7 or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, because I think because they would sometimes do it they would do like a live heat before the pay-per-view, I think, before they did the Sunday pay-per-view. Yeah. It was always kind of interesting. So it was kind of like it was kind of like the precursor to the pre-show, what they do now.
And it's back when they had like the New York restaurant and stuff, and they would like run
WWF
stuff out of
New
there.
York.
Yes.
Who can forget WWF New York? Certainly not Vince McMahon. So you said, okay, so we talked about watching Tough Enough and the reality Total, because actually one of my questions was going to be the moment you wanted to become a professional wrestler, but you've already answered that from watching Total Divas, right?
Yeah.
And so do you remember what talk us through the sort of process between that moment and your first training session? Like, where did you what steps did you take to try and make that happen?
So I was watching it and like kind of got back into it, kind of remembering like, oh, what I loved about it. And then obviously I started watching wrestling again, like kind of getting more into it. And then I just looked up places that I could train out in LA, found a few places out here, found Santino Bros. And then, so they offer like 1 day personal training. And I was like, okay, I'll try that and see if I absolutely hate it, if I can't handle it, whatever. But then like a couple of like days went by and I was like, actually, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and do the entire class. So I signed up for that. And I would say I signed up for it. And then like a week or week and a half later, I was training. Cause I'm a very like, when I decide I want something, I want it to happen now or it's not going to happen. So I think it was like just perfect where they were starting a class like the next week or something.
So do you remember like the first bump you took in training? Do you have like a vivid memory of that, or were there like a sequence of bumps?
I can't remember exactly when I took my first bump. I was the type of kid that was doing trampoline wrestling and like bumping on my own floor too. So like it wasn't bad for me when I first started, because I had been bumping into couches and like throwing myself into things since I was like a little kid, because I was trying to like, this is what I wanted to do my whole life.
So how long was there between your first training session and your first match? Like in front of a paid audience?
Yeah. My very first match was like a year and a month after I had started training. That would have been about right. Cause I started training at the end of September 2014, and then I debuted in October of 2015.
Okay. Do you remember who your first match was against?
Yeah, it was me and a guy cool who was in my class as well. And it was against the study buddies, Chaz Herrera and Darwin Finch. And
how did it go?
It was good. It was really funny because we were like the pre-show, because it was like a debut match or whatever for Santino's. And Darwin is like, he is the person that gives people their first match. He's like the go-to debut person. So like very good, very easy to work with. And then we kind of got in there, and I think that we just wrestled around for like 7 minutes. I don't think I was even in the match until like 5 minutes in. It was okay. It was a little iffy on that, like in that regard.
A hot tag.
5 minutes. It was a little iffy on that regard, but like overall, I like really love it, and I watch it back, and I'm like, oh, okay, like this isn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, I guess it's like a comedian watching their first open mic set or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So we talked about you watching Total Divas and being a fan when you were a kid. Do you still keep up with it regularly? Do you still watch WWE, AEW like week in, week out, or when you have time?
I pretty much, I consume wrestling. I've always consumed wrestling a little differently than I think the average fan anyways, because I used to just watch the women. Like that's all I cared about when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I feel like I consume it now through clips of things. And then if I see something that like I really want to watch, I'll go and watch it. Or if like I have a lot like friends there now, so I try and watch their matches, but I don't really do it religiously. Like I did way back when. But I pretty much try and catch every pay-per-view that every company puts out.
Do you ever watch do you ever watch like that stuff too? When you're watching it, are you trying to like absorb any knowledge? Like, are you watching that? Do you ever feel like you're still learning or do you feel like you're just watching it as a fan because you enjoy it?
No, I don't think I could ever watch wrestling as a fan anymore. Unfortunately, it's really hard. I actually that's when I know that I really like it though, is when I am taking a step back and like taking it as a fan. But I consume it so differently now, of like I nitpick everything, and but I really enjoyed the Rumble. I feel like the Rumble is definitely a time when I feel like a kid again, because it's just such a fun match. So like watching that recently was really fun. But yeah, I consume it more with like a critical eye than I ever would before.
So how did you feel about the involvement of Bad Bunny in the Royal Rumble?
Okay, so I love that shit. Like I'm
Me too.
I'm here for it. I'm here. I've always been here for like those silly like things. I think it's like just a good way to bring more eyes to the product. Like WrestleMania is always the fun time when something like that happens. So, and I feel like John and Miz are always the people that's going to happen with. So, it's fun, and then like it adds like a little extra spice that we don't get to see too often. So, I'm here for it.
So, being a SoCal indie legend that you must be pretty close with John, right?
Well, I'm close with John because my best friend is his wife.
Okay. So were you and Taya texting each other during his segments?
No, not during that, but I think John always ends up in that position. Like we actually had a conversation recently about the time, because like I think the gif of Snooki doing like her like backflips and stuff had come out like a couple of months ago, and it made me be like, oh, hey, how'd you feel about that, John? Like, that was so interesting that you always get like put in that position. And he was just saying how like he asked her if she could do anything. And she's like, well, I used to be a cheerleader. And he's like, do that. Like, they're going to love that. So I think he enjoys it too, honestly.
I mean, he's so Hollywood. That's why they make him do all the stuff with all the celebs, I guess.
Yeah, right? It's perfect. And he's just such a good guy. So he can handle it and like make everyone feel like they're welcome, I feel like.
Yeah, there's like there's not a lot. I don't want to overblow it, but there is some discourse on wrestling Twitter currently regarding Bad Bunny. Like I said, I love that stuff. I think it's fun. I love it when they get a little bit weird like that. He's obviously a wrestling fan, which is good.
Yeah, he's like notably done a bunch of like songs about wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like somewhat like a very, very famous, like very, very, very famous rapper having a song named after Booker T is a pretty big deal. And I'm surprised more people aren't reacting positively to that. But, you know, that's wrestling fans.
I know. Well, it's like the gatekeeping of it or whatever. But like my favorite part about wrestling has always been the silly shit. That's like always what I've loved. I was never like, the only time I cared like super much, like a lot about pure wrestling was when I was in like college and I was watching Joshi. But like other than that, I'm like, storylines are the reason I started watching. I literally have watched because of 2 reality shows. So like I'm here for all of the like funny, like out of the box stuff.
So how much of that do you try to bring into your own matches? Like the sort of balance between being silly and being sort of technically proficient, you know? Where do you come down?
Yeah, it took me a long time, I feel like, because that's always where I wanted to be. I looked at like Peter Avalon was somebody in SoCal scene that I looked at him and I said, he's so good at integrating being silly and being a really good wrestler at the same time. So like I wanted to kind of put those together, and I feel like I'm finally almost there. It's like kind of still being interactive with your environment and like being able to like step outside and be like, oh, did you guys see that? But also like keeping like a technically sound match at the same time. So I still like to have fun and like be silly and not take myself too seriously and interact and like make the crowd have fun with me because of that.
I saw you powerbomb Watts at bar wrestling.
Yeah.
that was very, very good. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I was like, that ruled.
And that's what I loved about bar. Like bar was like a perfect place to do like silly shit, but also have like these insanely good matches.
Yeah, I went to quite a few bar. I mean, I moved to SoCal in 2018 and went to as many bar shows as I could since then, and always had a great time. Would bring friends who aren't into wrestling, and they would come out like so happy. They were like, "Oh my god, that's wrestling!
Yeah.
That was fucking nuts." I hope that when everything goes back to normal, something similar or hopefully identical springs up in its place.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
I feel
sure
like,
it will.
and I feel like places like Hood Slam have had that vibe for a while, but they're not obviously in SoCal. But I'm just remembering that match, and like there was an 8-man match, and we were like, oh yeah, we have to do something big, and it has to be like we like power bomb, and I was like, but it has to be me. It has to be me that power bombs.
Okay, so how did he react to that then? I can't imagine he was anything other than happy with it.
Yeah, we just thought it'd be hilarious to do the Shield power bomb on him, like, and me be the Roman Reigns. Like, we thought it would be hilarious. That's why I literally did the Roman Reigns, like, before I did it.
It was cool because he's a very, very big man.
Yes, he is a very, very big man. Very nice man. Very big man.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Would you ever consider starting your own promotion or own kind of just wrestling nights?
I would love to, just to give people like the opportunity to wrestle as often as Bar was, but I do not have it in me to be a booker. I helped last year, like with Q Pro show, and I've helped in other regards with other bookings, and I hated the stress. So I'm like, I can't imagine. More power to the people that promote shows often and like book shows often, because I definitely wouldn't have that in me.
Yeah. I'm going to bookmark that quote, because in 10 years when you start your own wrestling promotion.
I would love to produce or like agent, but I cannot see myself booking.
I can see you agenting and producing as well, because you, like I said, you are at this point a SoCal indie legend.
I appreciate that. I don't feel that, but I appreciate that.
So let's switch over to entrance music very quickly, because are you still coming out? I haven't, obviously, because of the world has gone to shit. I haven't actually seen you wrestle probably since before everything started. Are you still coming out to the MIA song?
Yes, that's my jam.
How long has that been your jam for?
Pretty much since when me and Laura started tagging together. That was our tag song. So like 4 years. Been like almost my entire career. That's been my theme song.
Would you, if that wasn't your theme song, do you ever like hear anything where you're like, this would be very good entrance music? Or is it set in stone?
Nothing hits the same way, because so what happened was I found this Santa Gold song that I also really love that's called Girls, and that was what I was using for my like main like just me entrance. And so when I told Laura when we decided to tag together, I was like, I always wanted to use Bad Girls, but like if I'm a baby face, like I really overthought it. And she's like, well, let's use that as our tag song. And then it's just like, it just hits the right way. And I can't even imagine having another song. Like when I have to eventually, hopefully get a song made or something, I want it to be exactly like that song.
Just a knockoff, yeah.
Yeah, just a knockoff of it.
Yeah, because that song has a very sick beat. So that's a great. Like I remember when I first saw you come out to that, I was like, this is. First of all, it's a sick song. I love MIA.
Yeah,
but just like. Such a good entrance theme. I was like, how is nobody else? It gets hyped up. So let's see. Entrance music. So you wrestled a couple of spots for AEW fairly recently, right?
Yeah, in August.
What's going on with that? You want to go back?
Of course, I would love to. I mean, any big company, it's like that's the next step, right? I'm just ready to make my career out of wrestling.
Okay, keeping it stim.
That's all I got.
Because so what was it like? I don't want you to give too much away. What was it like, sort of like, how many times did you fly between California and Florida when you were doing that? Was it just the one time, or did you come back and forth a few times?
No, it was just the one time because I don't know if they're doing this anymore, but at the time they were just filming 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did the live Dynamite, and then the next day they film another Dynamite in a dark. So I did the Dynamite one day and then the dark the next day.
Did they put you up in a nice hotel and all that?
Yeah.
Good trip.
Yeah, it was good. It was a really, really positive experience. Like, it was pretty laid back. Everyone was really cool. So it was a nice experience overall.
Could you, is Florida somewhere you could see yourself residing one day?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially right now, I'm feeling like I'm just so over Los Angeles right now. I mean, they just reopened, even though they probably shouldn't have. And it's just like really sad here right now, like wrestling wise. I don't see them having wrestling for a while. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm ready to go somewhere else where there could be more potential for me to.
So, because you haven't been completely inactive. You have done a few indie shows here and there, right? How do you know roughly how many times you've wrestled since everything started? Obviously not enough, but
yeah, I'm not sure. Like, it definitely isn't enough. Like, there was a point there, I think, like after doing AEW in like August to like November, where I was like working again, like at least once a week, which was really nice because before I was working like 3 to 4 times a week, and I was like, wait, what am I supposed to do with my life now? But I like literally just had a wrestling weekend this past weekend in Texas, and now I don't have anything else again until the end of the month. So it's kind of like completely different right now.
How do you like keep yourself busy during that downtime? What are you doing to stay sane? And are you able to train at all? Are you able to go to the gym and train and all that stuff? Work out?
Well, luckily I do have access to a gym here, even though stuff's not open, but my roommate worked at one, so she has access to that gym. And it's like no one's using it. We're just kind of whoever used to work there. But I haven't been able to like really get in a ring and train. So I'm trying not to travel too much, but at the same time, I'm planning to travel like next week to go somewhere where I can actually get in a ring.
Get in a ring and work out.
Yeah. Because otherwise it just feels rusty.
And then, so what about when you're like at home? What do you do to like occupy your brain when you're just kind of stuck indoors?
I wish it could be something good, but it's just more rotting of my brain by literally me and my roommate. We have this new routine, and it's bad, where we go to the gym in the morning, which is nice. Literally wake up, go to the gym, and then come home, change into our day pajamas, and sit on the couch and watch The Challenge for hours until like eventually we're like, should we go to bed? Okay, let's go to bed.
That honestly sounds sweet as hell.
and that's great when you do it once in a while, but like it's happening every day. It's like this new routine. We've gotten through like so many seasons of The Challenge.
So what is The Challenge? What is it? You want to just explain it to me?
Yes. Okay. So it's a reality competition show on MTV, and it used to be the Real World Road Rules Challenge. So like people from those shows would compete against each other, and now it's still like real world people and then other like MTV reality shows. And now they've included like Big Brother, Survivor. Like they have a bunch of reality shows where people compete in these like crazy competitions.
Is that drama?
Oh, yes. That's why I love The Challenge. It's like the perfect balance of competition show and reality show.
Okay, cool. Because if my reality TV doesn't have any drama in it, I'm not interested. No,
it's perfect. And like this past season, actually, Leo Rush was on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Now I know what it is. Yeah.
They've had Ariane / Cameron on a season before as well.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I recently watched some of this MTV reality show that's on Netflix called Are You the One? Have you seen that?
Have I seen that? They have people from Are You the One on it too.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. That's a very wild show.
I love it. That's the type of stuff I used to watch all the time, and now they're putting so many on Netflix that I'm like, oh yeah, I loved this.
Yeah, they're dumping loads of stuff on Netflix, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Love Island?
I did, but I haven't watched the US version.
Oh, you just watched the French one?
Yeah, because I found it randomly on Hulu. Oh no, I found it because my sister lives in England and she's married to an Englishman, and so when I was over there, I watched it on their show, on their TV, and my sister's like, "Oh, this is trash," and I'm like, "I love it."
Yeah.
And then I found it on Hulu.
It is trash, but trash is very entertaining and good. Like I find it. Well, we watch Love Island on Hulu too, the British one, and it's very compelling. Yeah.
I watched all like 46 episodes of the first season or something. They had like an insane amount of episodes because they did it like live, didn't they?
Yeah. So in the UK, for some reality shows, like the ones where it's like they just stick people in a house and have cameras around without they basically will show that they'll basically like take the day's footage and edit it together really quickly and then air it the next night. So it's when Love Island is happening, it's basically on TV every single night for the duration of the show, and it's on for like 3 months.
Yeah,
so,
and there's so many episodes.
Yeah, there's loads. They did it with UK Big Brother as well. It would just be every single night. It's like, here's what everyone in the house was doing on Monday, and here's what they were all doing on Tuesday, and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't seen the US one. The UK one. So did you watch it beyond the first season?
I watched the first 2 seasons. Like,
okay.
I was into it, but there were so many episodes, so I didn't like get super into the third. I watched part of it, but the first season
is when it really gets good, when it really finds its feet, I would say, because the first 2 are a little bit.
And then what's his face was on The Only Way Is Essex. Too.
Which guy? Which person? Someone.
Jonathan, I think is his name.
Oh, so he was like, was he like one of the main cast members on The Only Way Is Essex?
I don't know. I only know this because my friend was watching The Only Way Is Essex when I was at her place the other day, and I was like, "Wait, he's from Love Island."
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense because there is a lot of people from Essex on Love Island. Yeah, cool. Well, we ended with a nice reality TV.
That's what. Don't get me started on that.
I could literally talk for hours about reality TV.
Me too.
What makes me laugh is how snarky wrestling fans can be about reality TV. Like, wrestling and reality TV are the same thing.
It's the exact same thing. It's like exactly what it's supposed to be. Like,
obviously, pro wrestling has a little bit more sort of. There's a lot more athleticism involved and the artistry involved in the ring work. But in terms of just like drama and narrative, there's not much separating them, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Total Divas has worked so well to like get people in. They know how to do the storylines. Yeah,
and like my wife will talk about Real Housewives like same way I talk about pro wrestlers, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Video and stuff. Okay, well, thanks for chatting to us. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, anything you want to plug?
Just follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's Heather Is Me, and then I have my big cartel, which I don't know what the exact link is, but it's on those pages.
I'll put it in the description of the video and all that stuff. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and I really hope everything goes back to normal very soon, so that you can go back to wrestling 10 times a week or whatever it was you were doing. So.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
ProWrestlingSheet.com